I'm not a believer in Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield. The Saints might be the most dysfunctional franchise out there. Like, I really, them bringing in Derek Carr, everything went south last year. I still don't think they have the right coach in place there. So you look at that division, it is ripe for the picking. And I think this could be the first year. I feel like in years past, we kind of looked at that division in kind of the perspective of some team has to win and they won't be able to do anything in the playoffs. And yes, I know the Bucs, beat the Eagles in the playoffs last year, but they were not a good team. I think Atlanta could be a serious contender this year. I know it's a very popular pick. A lot of people are on them, but they're going to win a lot of games in that division. I think the offense needs, a guy like Cousins who can just be, an efficient, effective distributor. He doesn't have to go crazy back there. He just has to drop back, hit the open guy. They got plenty of weapons. They'll get Bijan in the mix a little bit more. But, yeah, I like Atlanta, man. I don't think there's any reason. You look at these odds as far as the division winner. I don't think there's any reason to overthink this one.
You look at Kirk Cousins and what he could do for the Atlanta Falcons offense. I'm betting overs on a lot of the offensive numbers. When it comes to Bijan Robinson, yeah, we got a real quarterback. Hey, Kyle Pitts, that guy you expected him to be when he was drafted 4th overall, yeah, he should ball out, right? Like, I'm gonna have him on my fantasy team. I'm gonna select him to do a lot of things from week to week when it comes to bets, because I think that guy is gonna end up with 80 catches, over 1,000 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Those are the numbers I'm throwing on Kyle Pitts now that he has a real quarterback that can throw him the ball. And the Atlanta Falcons, again, should win this division to me based on all those numbers because of how talented they are on the offensive side. Listen, Kirk Cousins is not going to get it done when it comes to playoff time, when it comes to 8 p.m. games. Like, we know this, right, Mark? We know Kirk Cousins at 4:25, but most of his games are going to be at 1 o'clock. So at 1 o'clock, that's what we're fine with. So, again, I think we're both on the board of Atlanta Falcons minus 120 to win the division. I think that's a pretty good look. But let's look at the win totals over and unders, because here's the difference here, right? The over at 9.5 is minus 140. Yeah, okay. Not going to get much. The over for 10.5 is plus 145. Which one would you go with?
I would go over 10.5. I think they can win 11 games. I think the team can win 11 games, especially in this division. You mentioned it's 6 layups, man. And they're not going to sweep the division. No, the NFL, you have injuries, you have scheduling spots you have to look after, but I definitely think it's a team that can win 11 games. They have the talent there. I think I like the coaching. I like that they brought in Morris. And I think that they're a team in the NFL. If you look at the landscape of the NFL as a whole, it's kind of top heavy. There's a lot of question marks with a lot of the mid-level teams. You have your Philadelphia, you have your Detroit, you have your San Francisco. Outside of that, you got a young team in Green Bay. Can they compete? So I think there's a lot of opportunity across the landscape of the NFL to even win some of those added division games. I don't think there's, really, a lot of those mid-level teams that you can definitively say are better than the Falcons.
Russell Wilson, we're talking about him and Justin Fields. And to be honest with you, I'm looking at that situation like, don't get hurt. Watch your back, dog. Watch your back, because Justin Fields could take your minutes again. This is not a situation where you're going to start and be the man and no one is going to touch your position. They drafted Justin Fields, the younger version of you. At least they're hoping that he's the younger version of you, to replace you. So that's going to be interesting. We're going to get into totals. So let's get into the Pittsburgh Steelers totals, right? Because they're a team that's never under 500, right? They're always 500 under Mike Tomlin, but obviously there's no 500 anymore. You either win 9 games to get over 500, or you lose 9 games and you're under 500. So let's take a look at their overs and unders. And I'm looking on here. I don't even see an 8.5. Like, that's not even an option for them. So over 9.5 is plus 280. Would you go over or under 9.5?
Oh, I got to go under. I think I say this every year, but every year I'm like, this is the year where Tomlin's not going to be able to get it done. And they end up getting it done. They find a way to scrape and get some wins and even get into the playoffs sometimes. But I just don't see it with this team, man. Like, I don't think, is Russell Wilson a better quarterback than Kenny Pickett? Absolutely. In every sense of quarterbacking. Like, there's not an area where Russell Wilson doesn't give them more of an advantage. But I don't know if it's a big enough advantage that it's going to really separate them from other teams. like, yes, Wilson's going to be a good veteran. He's going to get the ball where it needs to go. But again, he's not elusive in the pocket anymore. He's like quirky. I'm curious about how the chemistry is going to work with the team. I'm trying to be nice about it, but I just think that, I don't look at him as like a top quarterback anymore. So I don't think they really addressed the position the way they needed to. If they went out and brought in Kirk Cousins, that's a different story, but they didn't. It's Russell Wilson, and it's not an offense that is dynamic or full of playmakers. Pickett's can take top off defense, but outside of that, like they went and they drafted the kid from Michigan, I think, Roman Wilson. So they have some good possession guys, which kind of fits what Wilson wants to do. But that just makes me wonder, to your point, Sean, if it is an offense that isn't really explosive enough, and it's just kind of a little bit, bland, like we've seen Steelers offenses in the past, do they add Fields just to bring another level of athleticism and that rushing dynamic to it? Because they lack the explosive plays, which are everything in the NFL. You have to have explosive plays to win.
Yeah, but think about this, all right? They had 9 wins last year with their quarterback situation. So you don't think Russell Wilson is good enough to, or Justin Fields, whoever is out there, good enough to get you 1 game, 2 games, right? Like Russell Wilson didn't have as bad a year as they tried to portray he had last year. Only 3,000 yards, but he had 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 98 quarterback rating. Like he had a solid year for what they're going to ask him. So if he brings that same year over to the Pittsburgh Steelers and that defense, don't forget that defense is everything. And they got 2 running backs, 2 horses back there that can get you yards and get you touchdowns. So all you have to do is play action pass. So to me, I'm definitely going with them to get 11 wins. I think that's 2 wins worth because of the fact that they won 9. Why can't they win 2 more? Mike Tomlin is always going to have a team that plays well and plays solid. That defense is always going to be a top-ranked defense. 2 more wins? Come on, Mark.
Yeah, but I can't look at it like that. Like, they don't get to play 2023 again. They're not going to get Nick Chubless Browns. They're not going to get like all the fortunate breaks that they got last year that allowed them to win those games. They might get them in a different way, but it's a new season. So it's not really about like I guess my point is they're not the only team that went out and got better. Every team in the NFL went out and got better, or at least is a little bit different. So you can't really compare it to last year. It's just when I look at the NFL, this is a league that's based on explosive plays. It's based on quarterback play and play calling. And I don't know if Pittsburgh has any of that. The defense is nice. Okay, they can get some stops when they have to, but the NFL, the rules, everything about the league is built for scoring, and they don't have the guys.